Thing I've noted over these years of being around people who are adjacent to the CIA more than most people would ever be is I kind of got the vibe they're like a cult, like the things they do. Like, well, let me just say this, being around people who are adjacent to the intelligence community as workers, field workers, online workers, um, it feels like being around a bunch of theater kids. Like cult like, motivated by narcissism and ego. And what's interesting is I had been thinking that for a while, and spontaneously the algorithm showed me this dude who's making money talking about the CIA. I don't know what level he was in it, but this dude was like in the CIA, and he kind of like reveals some secrets for the public. Nothing real, of course, but like superficial shit. And he kind of confirmed that they run like a cult, what I could intuit and observe. And a lot of what they do in the training and selection process is finding the right people they think they can control. He doesn't phrase it like that, of course, but he says finding the perfect person. That's how he phrased it, who would be a good fit. But I can clearly see the perfect person they think they can control. And basically making them going through cult like phenomena of alienation from their family, their community, um, being brainwashed. Service to this group is the most important thing. And they put them through this and dig every piece of dirt on them until they realize, like, you're a good fit to control. You're a blank slate we think we can control. Which is interesting because being forced to be near so many intelligence community adjacent people, it felt like this is what it feels like you are a prop in a play of rich kids who are mentally 15 or 16, and they're salty, they're not special enough, and they've joined the theater group in their rich high schools and colleges to feel more special. And they're actually not unlike Donald Trump, motivated by ego above all other driving motivations, which is also interesting in this dude I'm mentioning who reveals some secrets, nothing real, of course, but like some secrets of how they select, create CIA officers. He mentions one thing they teach you is to analyze the driving motivation of an individual. So the three motivations broadly, I think, are ego, which is what CIA workers are actually motivated by, as well as the majority of Illuminati orbiters, whether they're celebrities, musicians, influencers, government officials, and CIA officers, ego. And the next one is duty, like doing something because it's right, or you perceive it to be needing to be done. And then the last is like ascribed, learned ethics and morals, like your religion, a code of ethics taught to you. This would be different from duty, whereas duty is like comes from within, like this is right, I have to do it. And a code of ethics taught to you with your driving motivation doesn't necessarily involve you analyzing if right or wrong needs to be done. From what I can see, people motivated by ego are the easiest to control, and people motivated by duty are the hardest to control. People motivated by duty are most in touch with reality, what really is happening, whereas people who are motivated by ethics, a prior code of behavior taught to them, are less motivated, and ego motivated people are the least. They're not in touch with either a prior code of doctrine or what's right or wrong, but ego. And one thing I've come to appreciate being near so many people who are in the CIA is the way cults operate is by targeting people motivated by ego. And the CIA functions like a cult. So they, just like any cults in society, they're looking for people motivated by ego. These include people who want to feel special, people who want to be very high achieving and noted and celebrated for that, people who just they're motivated by how they look in the eyes of others and what people think about them. Motivated by ego versus motivated by duty. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care if I'm celebrated. I'm doing this because it's right. An internal decision, or motivated by moral ethics. A code taught you, in my religion, we don't do that. The way I was brought up, we don't do that. And it's not, this is right or wrong, but a prior code taught to them is what decides what they do. Of all the people, ego motivation is the easiest to control, to make them your slaves and do whatever you want. Duty, the hardest, the most in touch with what you're really fucking doing, not what people think and not what was taught to you. And it gave me a lot of insight. The way every cult on earth functions is by targeting ego motivated people. They want to be special. They're looking for a great relationship or a great new thing, or to be special or to have glory. And they suck them in and they say, we'll give you all this, the glory of God, the glory of this, or you're going to be special. Come. And then what they do is almost like an anorexic girl who has come to view starving herself as the way to become happy and safe. Like, I was anorexic briefly, so I know that's what happens. Your brain starts to associate success, safety, everything you want with being thin. And so instead of actually seeking those things, like being happy or having a place in the world, you just starve yourself. And that's what every anorexic is going through. And the ones in it so long, like Eugenia Cooney, because their brain has been whittled away by starvation, and they have an obsessive compulsive personality that tends to be fixated, like I do as well. Like, you get fixations and you can't stop them. And they have all these factors. They're in so deep, they cannot ever break that association that being thin means shit. Like, they're just, they without that, they have nothing. And those are the lifers who like die, right? But if you intervene early enough, sometimes simply forcing them to eat and depriving them of the behaviors makes them forget about it. Like, they actually have data on this. Like, there's a certain method that you can specifically use with very young girls who just started this path, where you just literally, like, you're not doing this anymore. And for like a few months, you just force them to fucking eat. And if they're young enough and it just started, then it actually works. And they're like, okay, I'm not into that anymore. Obviously, you can't do that with a lifer like Eugenia Cooney. It wouldn't work. But I forget what this method is called. It works in cases like that. Like, it just started. They just started this obsessive compulsive fixation with over exercising and not eating and the reward. And if you just like, okay, we're going to pull you out of this 10-year-old, 11-year-old, and we're going to make you eat for like a year, then like it can actually work to break the early association. Or if you spontaneously, like when this happened to me, I was in my 20s. I had been deprived of all prior learning. So mentally, I was like 16, but I was actually 20. So despite the complete deprivation of all learning, and I was developing these problems more like a child, like anorexia, because I probably did have the advantage of a 21-year-old brain development. I was able to identify and break the cycle, as well as already being in mental health crises and realizing when you go into it more, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So I was able to break it myself, but it's hard in the beginning because you really have these visceral reactions to eating with terror. It's terror. Okay, I can't explain it, but I do remember it. It was 24 years ago, or no, 22 years ago, but I still remember, like, literally terror. It's like you completely fucking disabling. But I had again, I had the advantage of an adult age despite being stunted of social learning, which is probably why I went into this child shit. And also the advantage of already overcoming one set of dysfunctional coping behaviors and then going into this one because I was so deprived and fucked up, right? That I just kind of like did it again in a different way. um Yeah, so going back to cults and narcissistic ego motivated types. So what the cult does is they suck them in with these promises that would appeal to their motivation of being very special, very esteemed, very important. And then through a gradual process of cult brainwashing, they make them stop viewing that as through their identity, Emily Dean's, and through service to the group. The group becomes a narcissistic supply placeholder, not really supply, but the narcissistic object that who they really are. So they stop being Emily Dean's and they start being the CIA and these very special people they're with, right? That becomes who they're serving to fulfill the ego motivation. And I realized every cult on earth operates like that. And not everybody can join a cult. It's people who are motivated by ego, who get brainwashed by a charismatic organization or leader to stop viewing Jane Doe as what you're serving, and you're serving the God cult. And that's how you become special, great glory that you're really looking for. This esteem, this specialness, this uniqueness is this group. People motivated by duty are the least likely to be able to join a cult because they're the most in touch with what's really done. And people motivated by a moral doctrine or a prior set of teachings are probably more prone to it, but narcissistic ego motivated types are the easiest to control and the easiest to join a cult. And this is why, if you look at the world the capitalists have made, who has a voice, they are all ego motivated type people. The only difference is the ones who we call Lady Gaga or Trump or a great artist or a great musician are encouraged to retain seeking narcissistic specialness through their identity, their name. And the ones they polarize into the CIA, the cult, they go through a series of brainwashing and learned associations. Your name is the group. That's really who you are. That's really what you serve, this important group of people. But they are at the same end of the day, the same people. And that's why being around CIA people feels like you're sitting there watching them dance and sing and put on different hats and make different screen names. And you look at them, it feels like looking at a wealthy high school of rich kids who are really into theater because they're motivated by ego and specialness and they are dysfunctionally trying to get it. That's what it feels like. And I clocked this long ago because I'm a duty type. Like that's what like motivates me more than anything. And I just look at them and I think to myself, don't you feel like a absurd fool? You look like an ego motivated type who has receded to an adolescent stage where you haven't matured into recognizing the best way to get this satisfaction is being a Trump like character, a Lady Gaga character. But they brainwash you in this cult to mind fuck who you are with it. And so you're doing all this dancing and singing and showboating and putting on a different hat, a different personality, all to say you serve this group, which you come to view as yourself. It reminds me of like an anorexic girl. Like, starving yourself's never going to make you happy, right? You're not safe starving yourself, right? And there's no telling them that because of these learned associations, right? And that reminds me of CA people. They love to talk. They love to scream. They love to just put on an act for no fucking reason. Like, I see these people, they'll be in my DM sometimes, and it's like, hey there, friend, I love you. You have the phrenology of a genius. And I'm like, don't you ever get tired of this? I think to myself, like, don't you get tired of this? But they don't. They don't because every act of deception and every act of performance, like a rich kid putting on like a performance of a streetcar named Desire, makes them feel like they're that much closer to being special. And they're in this anorexic like delusion where who they are doesn't matter, it's all the group. And every cult on earth operates like that. And that's why people who are normal look at them like, how are y'all doing this? And it's because they're ego motivated types who were brainwashed to the point they cannot disentangle self from group. And the more you are motivated to being an ego type, the more you will have no limits because you don't care about duty and you don't care about prior teachings. What does that tell you? I don't care about right and wrong. I don't care what really happens. Not important to me. And I don't care about what established beliefs taught to me. But what I do care about is this special. Say I perform Blanche Dubois the best. And I'm so important. And then all of society recognizes it. And my parents love me. And I'm celebrating. Everyone says you're special. But they're brainwashed to actually not do that. Like an anorexic girl's not brainwashed not to eat and feel happy by herself. And instead they're like, oh, I don't seek ego. I have duty to this organization. It's like, you don't have duty. Okay. Because duty motivation actually cares about real world outcomes. You just care about the glory of the group. The group has become a placeholder for your name. And that's an ego motivation. And ego motivated people are the easiest to control, which is why you look at all Illuminati orbiters. Every single one is hyper stratified to an ego motivation. With this one interesting caveat, they're CIA, they turn into a cult. They are ritualistically broken down to no longer seek ego through the self, but the group. But being around them feels like a bunch of failed ass wannabe Trumps, wannabe Lady Gagas. That's what it feels like. And I just look at them like, don't you get tired of this shit? Is there ever a point you say this is pointless? Why are you pretending to be this person right now? What do you think is gonna make me feel? I just look. I know what you are. I know more about you than you know about me. The reason that is to you, I am a group object you were ordered to destroy. You don't know anything about me, but I know what you are. You are a failed narcissist brainwashed into a cult, and that's why you never tire of putting on these different hats, these different costumes. Today you're gonna dress up like this guy. Tomorrow you'll dress up like that guy. I know what you are, but you don't know what I am because of the fact what I represent to you is a target, your group, who is really who you are told you to do this to. And I just look, don't you ever get tired? The way you look at an anorexic girl, don't you get tired of this? Don't you get tired of waking up every day not eating and then doing this? Hi guys, the thigh gap. You never get tired of this. You never think like, you know what? I'd probably feel better if I ate and like stopped doing this, but they don't because of this entrenched feedback loop they can't break. And that's a lot of people in the cult who are motivated by ego, but brainwashed to view the group as how they get their ego reward. And it's almost sad to me because it's like if you had chosen a life like Trump or Lady Gaga, at least you would be getting your ego motivation in a proper way. And I think that's why cults do this, because just like an anorexic person can never be satisfied that way, it's just this treadmill of seeking these things that can never happen that way. The same with cults, including the CIA. They're all motivated by being special, but they have been ritualistically broken down. Yourself doesn't matter, just the group. So they try harder to act, perform, put on masks, deceive and control, and it's just this void of unsatisfaction. Like if you're starving eating styrofoam, that's a lot like people in a cult, and the CIA included. And that's why they never tire of these activities I can see are pointless. It's because every time they do that ritual, just like an anorexic girl feeling her bones, every time they do that ritual, they feel like they're that much closer to being special while having this mental conception, myself doesn't matter, just the group. And that's why it's so easy to control people, because they're basically like schizophrenic anorexic. They're seeking something in a way that doesn't make any fucking sense, and they can't see out of that. There's never a limit. They're satisfied because what they're seeking cannot be attained that way. And that's why cults target people like this, and the CIA is no different. But yeah, don't you ever get tired? Don't you get tired of the showboating, the talking, the rambling, the lying, the deception? For what? You're never going to be special this way. Oh, I don't want to be special. I have duty to the group. Like, no, you're getting an ego high identifying with this group. Because if you had a duty high, you'd be like, I'm not helping these weird rapist satanic degenerates. That's what a duty person would say. Like, that what you're doing is foul. But if you're an ego person, the group is everything to you. Everything. It's become who your name used to be. And you never get tired of it. And I just look at you, oh, here we go, another showboating. I'm wearing a different screen name, and I'm going to say you have the phrenology of a genius. And I'm just like, don't. I look at you like an anorexic girl, like doing inspo. Like, don't you get tired of this? Don't you realize you're never going to hit your goals like this? Why don't you wake up? The associations are fucked, but they can't because who they are is the group, and who they are is seeking very, very special, important person. So they never get tired of it, and they're just like an endless pile of mold putty for the billionaires to puppet around. And I realized another way they control them is making them feel no one controls them. Like you see, they order their people to say this: no one controls the CIA. The CIA controls themselves. They know they're controlled. They're a cult. Cult members are the most controlled people. Just like you can look at like the Hand of God cult and be like, why are you burning stores, freak? Or like fucking Project Mayhem. That's how the CIA is. And they even control them by making them feel like they're the most free in slavery. Amazing to me. But I'm sick of being near these people because of how sick they are with no insight. And they're very malicious and they have no limits because they are ego types in a cult. And that's the worst of all. They're actually more dangerous than the ego types who are not as much in a cult. They're still in the cult of being very special with the elites, but they're allowed to say, I'm Donald Trump and I'm special. They're allowed that in a way the CIA is not. And that's what makes them so dangerous and malicious with no limits is the gaping void of seeking a hunger and appetite that they're forbidden from ever indulging as their identity has become this very important group.